Now, there's a doctrine of equivalence, and this is an area. This is something where experts are called upon quite a bit, and this is a really tricky area of the law. So it's doctrine of equivalence, or DOE, as we like to abbreviate everything. So even if you can't prove that every element is in the prior art, let's say. So this is hard. This is such a simple one; it's hard to do it. But let's say the seat wasn't here, and there's something else. So let's say we're going to get complex here. Let's say our claim construction, we construed seat to mean a flat surface that receives, a butt, essentially, or something like that. All right, so our understanding of seat is that it's this flat surface. But let's say the accused product is got like a beanbag top or something like that. So it's not a flat surface, all right? And so then it doesn't literally infringe. But the law recognized back a couple of decades ago that kind of literal infringement encourages accused infringers to make just small changes. And is it really fair that if they make this small change that they somehow avoid the claim? And so they came up with the Doctrine of Equivalents. It's a judge-made doctrine. And it basically says if the differences between the accused product and the absent limitation are insubstantial, so it's the insubstantial differences. So if the difference between having a flat seat and one that has a little bubble on it is insubstantial, in light of what the purpose of the seat is, supporting a human, then it might still infringe under this Doctrine of Equivalence. And as you can tell right away, lawyers love this, especially the plaintiff's side, because it gives you a lot of wiggle room to say, oh, that's not really substantial difference. And so you have this big fight. And so to try to cabin it in, they have what's called the function way result test. Does the accused product function in the same way as the claimed product? Does it perform the same function as the claimed product? Does it do it in the same way? And does it have the same result? And so that's when you might have seen in some of the examples of Dauberding that were in the handbook, references to the function way result or Doctrine of Equivalence, because this is a common area where experts are asked at the last minute in your report, will have spent weeks on it, done literal infringement, and then someone walks in and says, well, what if they do it? What if they try to argue that it's slightly different? And so you'll be asked to include a Doctrine of Equivalence analysis kind of at the end. This is a typical scenario from the ones that we saw in the handbook. And so what happens is you throw it in, you say, oh, and if it doesn't infringe, literally it does it under the Doctrine of Equivalence, and kind of full stop. That, the law would say, that's insufficient. You get Dauberded on that. And so that means is that at trial, you can't offer a Doctrine of Equivalence opinion. If you want to have a DOE opinion, you need to walk through the whole function way result test. And a lot of times it's on the lawyers, because the lawyers, we like to focus on literal infringement, and then it's at the last minute that we get nervous and say, well, what if we don't have literal infringement? We want to try to have as many arrows as we can going into trial. And so we try to squeeze one in. So if you're asked to do a Doctrine of Equivalence analysis, recognize that it requires actual analysis, that there's an entire test you have to walk through of the function way and result test, essentially.